Muy buenas tardes. Muy buenas tardes. Welcome to Bienestar's second virtual community storytelling panel as part of our celebration of our 40 years of community development work. We are calling our celebration Camino al Bienestar, or the journey to well-being. My name is Nathan Teske. I'm the executive director of Bienestar, and I will be moderating the conversation today. To start off, I want to thank LMC Construction and Kaiser Permanente for their support of this event. Our panel today honors some of the housing heroes that were critical to Bienestar's development and will feature stories of how grassroots efforts and community organizing shaped the work of Bienestar. In particular, we will talk about the history and the role of the Promotores, a resident leader program that directs services to Bienestar residents, and how this program, based on the community health worker movement in Latin America, shaped the services we provide at Bienestar. We are pleased to be joined today by Gracie Garcia, Juan Carlos Aguilera, and Alejandro Ortega. All three have been part of the Bienestar community for many years and worked alongside each other. For example, Gracie hired Juan Carlos many years ago as the Promotores Coordinator, and Alejandro met both Juan Carlos and Gracie when he decided to become involved himself as a promotor or resident leader at Bienestar's Montebello property in Hillsborough. Please note that the panel today will be bilingual in English and Spanish, and that we are joined by interpreter Paul Reek, who will interpret into English when necessary. We will start with introductions and then move to questions for each panelist. At the end, our panelists will be able to respond to questions from you in the audience. If you have questions about Bienestar or a question for one of our panelists, kindly type it into the chat on Zoom or into the comments on Facebook Live. We will do our best to address the questions today, but if we can't get to them, we'll respond by email later on. Please also know that the event today will be recorded and a link of the recording will be sent to all guests who registered for the event. Now let's move to our panelists. First, we have Gracie Garcia. Gracie is Bienestar's Community Services Director, and she was 6 years old when her family moved from Texas to Oregon in 1966. Her family of 8 packed their bags and came here to become farm workers. Gracie and her family lived in migrant camps for many years before they established roots and purchased a home in Hillsborough. Since she and her family made that trek so many years ago to the Pacific Northwest, Gracie has become a legend in our community and built a legacy through her work as a community organizer and advocate in Washington County, working at places like Oregon Child Development Center, Virginia Garcia Memorial Health Center, and now Bienestar. Amazingly, Gracie has been our services director for 16 years. Through Gracie's amazing leadership, the Promotores program was developed in the mid-2000s and has been led by her ever since. Bienestar currently has 12 Promotores working at 12 of our different affordable housing properties. We are also joined by Alejandro Ortega. Alejandro is a Mexican native who moved to Oregon to be with his family. Once he was in the United States, he found a stable job, and a home for his family. Since 2002, he has been a resident of Bienestar's Montebello property and been employed at Farmington Gardens. Alejandro joined the Promotores program in the early 2000s and worked with families to provide information, assistance, resources, and referrals to services. His dedication and leadership has had an important impact on our resident community. And as a result, Alejandro currently serves as the vice president of Bienestar's board of directors. Finally, we have Juan Carlos Aguilera. Juan Carlos was born in Bolivia and moved to the United States for a new beginning in the year 2000. In Bolivia, Juan Carlos was a practicing lawyer and worked in the Corte Electoral as an oficial de registro civil, or a civil registry officer, where he oversaw legal registration of birth certificates, citizenship papers, marriages, recognition of children, and assisted with national elections. After an established career in Bolivia, Juan Carlos and his family pursued a new life in the United States. In 2011, he joined Bienestar as a Promotores Coordinator and where he taught GED classes and assisted with the leadership development of our residents. He is currently a community manager at Bienestar's Reedville Apartments. With that, we will shift now to some questions for each of our panelists. I have about 2 or 3 questions for each of them, and we'll rotate around through all 3 of them. We'll start off with Gracie, the founder of it all. Gracie, can you share with us your vision for establishing the Promotores program at Bienestar 16 years ago? How did it all begin? Where did the idea come from?
I had worked at Gracie Garcia Clinic where I developed the promotores there as a health. When I started in 2005 for Bienestar, I was well trained in doing the promotora program. What we wanted, or what our envision was, to see our residents raise up to a next level. To be heard, and to we knew that they had all this kind of skills and it really wasn't out there. So we started looking for promotores, for people. Now the difference is that we were not looking for health promotores. We were looking for information referral, going door to door to our families, and that was a twist that we did. So we started that 16 years ago with maybe 5 or 6 promotores, and now it's grown to that. They are our leadership. They are our eyes, our face of Bienestar. They go out and they go out to doors, knock at doors. So it's really important. They bring in something that nobody else could bring in, and that's the trust of our residents. And so 16 years ago, we started this program, and it's just expanded ever since then.
Thank you Thank you so much, Gracie. I will go to Juan Carlos. Juan Carlos, can you share your experience as a Promotores Coordinator? What was your strategy to let residents know their potential and ability? Juan Carlos, ¿puede compartir un poco de su experiencia como coordinador de los promotores? ¿Cuál fue su estrategia para que los residentes conocieran su propio potencial y capacidad?
Y antes que nada, un saludo a todos los presentes y quiero aprovechar el momento para agradecer a Bienestar por esta invitación.
So to begin with, I just want to say hello to everybody and thank Bienestar for this great invitation.
Respondiendo a la pregunta, para poder explicar cuál fue mi experiencia como coordinador de promotores, he tratado de ver como 3 etapas o facetas para poder explicar esto.
And this question about my experience as a coordinator of promotores, I think of 3 stages or facets to talk about this.
La primera podría ser que mi trabajo se resumió en ir conociendo a cada uno de ellos, es decir, conociendo a las personas, a quienes, con quienes iba a interactuar e iba a trabajar.
The first stage we can say was meeting people, getting to know people, the people that I was going to be working with and interacting with.
Cuando me refiero a conocer a la persona como tal, su cultura, sus raíces, y una parte bien importante es cómo fue su llegada a los Estados Unidos, ya que ese es un punto muy importante para ver en sí a la persona.
And when I say know a person, I'm going beyond the standard idea of knowing and thinking about their culture, their roots, and how they arrived, how they reached the United States, what their experience was of arrival in the United States, because this really shapes their experience and our relationship with them.
Mi segunda faceta o parte de la experiencia que tuve con los promotores fue recogiendo esta última parte que indiqué, las experiencias personales que cada uno de ellos tuvieron. Aquí es donde pude ver que el inmigrante como tal sufre las mismas consecuencias y todos los problemas son similares, son iguales.
So then moving to number 2, when we talk about getting to know people's personal experiences, I noticed some general similarities in the way that folks arrived, the stories of their arrival. They found themselves with some of the same challenges.
Por ejemplo, cuando digo cómo llegaron a los Estados Unidos es muy importante porque al escuchar las historias de ellos podemos ver sus destrezas, sus habilidades, sus fortalezas. No es fácil que una persona cambie de familia, cambie de sociedad, deje todo atrás para un nuevo comienzo. Esa es una gran fortaleza. Por eso es que digo que cómo llegaron a los Estados Unidos.
And by asking about the story of how they arrived in the United States, it's a great window into understanding what they bring, what their skills are, what they've learned, what their strengths are. It's quite a feat to leave your family and your society and move to a brand new place, a new land with new cultures, and have a new beginning. So that understanding that history is understanding what the person brings in their strengths.
Esto nos llevó a ver cómo es que ellos tomarían este reto de aportar en la sociedad, ¿no es cierto? Porque hay mucho que aprender, hay que ser parte de la sociedad, tenemos que aprender las leyes, sus reglas, las normas tributarias y hasta el cómo movilizarnos en esta nueva sociedad.
And that whole challenge of becoming a part of a new society and culture, there's so much to it. You need to learn the laws, including the tax laws and others, and all the rules, and just how do you move through a society like this?
Todo este análisis me llevó a enfocar mi experiencia de trabajo con los promotores de una manera no muy rutinaria, no muy dirigida, sino ampliando a qué pueden aportar ellos, claro, en base al mismo programa, pero cómo pueden aportar ellos como personas para que podamos llegar a desarrollar este trabajo de los promotores.
So this brought me to the conclusion that I needed in my work coordinating the promotores to not have such a directed approach, but rather to ask in each case, what can they bring to this work, and respond and take from that.
Ya respondiendo a la segunda parte de la pregunta, ¿qué estrategia usé? Cambié un poco la visión, la perspectiva. Generalmente en un trabajo se dice que tenemos que creer en las personas para poder trabajar con ellos. Yo cambié un poquito esto y dije, tengo que primero dejar que ellos crean en ellos mismos, en sus habilidades, en lo que ellos pueden aportar, adquiriendo confianza, seguridad, y creo que esto fue lo que llevó a que este programa de promotores tenga un gran desarrollo y ellos fueran como representantes de la comunidad, como líderes de su comunidad.
And so moving into my strategy for working with the promotores was a change in how we would normally see this work. It's not so much believing in them, but allowing them to believe in themselves, working on their confidence, self-confidence, and their security, and recognizing their skills. And so they are building up their self-confidence and their success in their development as leaders in their community.
Muy bien, muchas gracias, Juan Carlos. Thank you, Juan Carlos. Now let's turn to Alejandro Ortega, who was himself a promotor at Bienestar's Montebello apartments. Alejandro, the question we have for you is, what motivated you to become a promotor? What interested you about it? What was your inspiration? Alejandro, la pregunta para usted es, ¿cómo llegó a ser promotor en Montebello? ¿Qué fue la motivación que tuvo para involucrarse como promotor en la propiedad de Montebello?
Buenas tardes a cada uno de ustedes. Es un placer escucharlos y que me escuchen mi experiencia, cómo ha sido para mí muy gratificante el ser un residente de un complejo de bienestar. Y respondiendo a la pregunta que me están haciendo con respecto a qué fue lo que me motivó para yo ser un promotor.
So good afternoon to everyone.
We may have lost Paul for a moment. Paul, are you there? Great, I'll just step in for a second until Paul gets back online. Alejandro was speaking about his satisfaction of being a resident, and he was about to speak to his motivation for becoming a promotor. So while we wait for Paul to get back online, Alejandro, adelante por favor con la siguiente parte de su respuesta.
Respondiendo a la pregunta de qué fue lo que me motivó para poder llegar a ser un promotor, fue desde que yo llegué a ser residente ahí desde el 2002, mayo del 2002, donde pues mis hijos empezaron a crecer, empezaron a convivir en la sociedad del complejo, empezaron a ir a los programas que Bienestar empezaba a otorgar a los jóvenes. Fue varios programas como clases de inglés, también hubo clases para los adultos como papás, también estaban enfocados en darles información a los padres. Yo asistí a algunas clases de inglés, algunas clases de computación, clases de GD. Esa es la razón por la que me motivaron a terminar mi GD. Para los jóvenes había clases de tareas, había summer camp, había infinidad de programas. Eso fue la motivación que me hizo involucrarme para ver cómo estaba funcionando o cómo era el proceso.
Muy bien, excelente. Thank you. So Alejandro is saying that he moved to Montebello in 2002 with his children. He got involved in a number of activities that Bienestar Works and Services, soccer club. Yeah, he enrolled in band parent classes, parent student classes. He also enrolled in English class, computer class, GED. His children enrolled in the homework club and in summer camp activities. And it was that experience, he said, working through those programs and learning about those programs that motivated himself to become a promotor. Thank you very much. Looks like we have Paul back. Thanks, Paul, for coming back. We're going to skip ahead to Gracie, and we'll come back to Juan Carlos and Alejandro in just a minute. Gracie, we have a follow-up question for you here. Can you explain, Gracie, a little bit about the typical work that a promotor does day to day with Bienestar? What kind of services do they provide, and how do they make a difference to their community?
Okay, so the thing is what don't they do? Our promotores do a rate of events, activities. A normal day would be, they don't do an 8:30 to 5 o'clock like most of us do. They can work evenings, they do home visits, they do weekends, they do information and referrals. So if a family needs help in money for help with rent assistance or food, they're out there helping them. They do presentations to the community. They advocate for the families. They get involved in whatever needs that our residents are needing at that time. For instance, with the COVID, the vaccines, they're out there doing surveys to finding out who needs vaccines, who needs information, to back to school activities. They're out there delivering backpacks to the families. They get involved in the community. And I think one of the important things that they do is it's the flexible hours that they do, but they listen to our residents and listens to the need of our residents or concerns of our residents, and then they bring it back to us to see how we can help in us being Bienestar. They do help with fundraising. So they're just doing whatever is needed to be out there. They can work from 2 hours to 15 hours a week, just depending on the need that our families are needing at that particular time.
That's great, Gracie. Just one quick follow-up for you, and then we'll go back to Juan Carlos. Gracie, is it fair to say that almost all of the families in Bienestar get some help or a home visit from a promotor every year?
Yes. They are their needs just to go out and do at least one home visit per household. And we have a little bit over 800 households. So they go out, they do home visits, and some of them might be just a one time, and some of them might be 4 5, 6 times, depending on the needs of each of the families. And then the referrals, so they'll follow up on referrals on there. This last year, we helped over 600 households for food. And we helped the vaccines surveys. They went out door to door, all of the households to get information. So it's not just a one-time thing. It depends on the needs of each of our families.
Great, thanks, Gracie. That's really helpful.
Sure.
Now we'll shift to Juan Carlos for the second follow-up question. Juan Carlos, you spoke yourself personally about your experience as an immigrant and how that helped you engage with the Bienestar community, the residents and the promotoras. How did your experience as an immigrant help you get involved with the residents of Bienestar? Juan Carlos, usted habló de su experiencia como inmigrante, cómo le ayudó a trabajar con los promotores, los residentes de Bienestar. Díganos, por favor, ¿cómo fue su experiencia como inmigrante y cómo le ayudó a involucrarse con los residentes de Bienestar?
Bueno, mi situación como un inmigrante más en este país me ayudó, como decía a un principio, a ver que en realidad todos los problemas son los mismos para todos. Todos tratamos de resolverlos o encontrar una solución de alguna manera a todo esto. De acuerdo a nuestro conocimiento o a las habilidades que hasta ese momento tenemos.
So I could see as just another immigrant among immigrants that there's really so much similarities. The problems are the same no matter where you come from, the same barriers, and really it's what you bring to those situations, that what the skills that you've developed that help, and that's how you respond.
Este aspecto, como decía, pues me llevó a entender que todos actuamos bajo una misma meta, que es el de sacar a nuestra familia adelante y establecernos nosotros en este país. Un aspecto importante también que quisiera notar es que si bien es cierto que este país nos brinda todas las oportunidades que tenemos como personas, como inmigrantes también tenemos muchas barreras que tenemos que pasar. Esas barreras son el idioma, el desconocimiento de las leyes, tanto tributarias, que es muy importante en este país, por ejemplo, o como las simples normas de conducir o sociales.
So I could see that as immigrants, we all have about the same goal, to move forward with our families, make it work in the life here with our families. And if it's certainly true that this country has given us many opportunities, we've also facing so many barriers as immigrants. And certainly the language barrier, just that whole process of adaptation, of learning all these things you need to learn to live here, and especially how the system works, the tax system, the legal system, just all the rules.
He aquí que de esta manera, cuando trabajé con los promotores, enfoqué mi trabajo no como un coordinador, sino como un promotor más. Es decir, trabajemos juntos, aprendamos juntos, porque todos los días tenemos algo nuevo que aprender en una nueva sociedad.
And all this made me realize that when I worked with the promotores, I couldn't just be a coordinator. I needed to be a promotor among promotores, because we together needed to work to respond and to learn together and to seek the ways to have a good process of adoption and helping the residents.
Básicamente esa fue la estrategia o la forma que enfoqué como un inmigrante más. Algo importante que aprendí es que si bien, por ejemplo, mi persona había recibido una instrucción en mi país para hacer algo, no es nada frente a los retos que uno tiene que tener frente a una nueva sociedad, a un nuevo establecimiento. He ahí es que de manera general yo siempre trato de distinguir ahora lo que es la instrucción y lo que es la educación. La instrucción no confirma nada. La educación o traer contigo tu cultura, tus buenas cosas que tú tienes te ayudan en una completa adaptación dentro de una sociedad más que un grado de instrucción.
And I learned something very important. I have a educational training in my country, but that really didn't help me. I learned to distinguish between what we could call instruction, educational training, and education itself, which to me is the culture, is the gifts or the talents, the skills that we have culturally that allow us to adapt to new situations, and that is what helps us in this.
Muy bien, excelente, Juan Carlos. Thank you. Gracias. Now we'll pitch a question over to Alejandro. Alejandro, the question you spoke earlier about your coming here as an immigrant. I'd like to ask you, why do you think it's important that immigrants and residents of affordable housing become active in their community and become leaders, as you have? Alejandro, ahora una pregunta para usted con respecto a la cuestión de migrantes, los residentes de la propiedad de bienestar. ¿Por qué usted cree que es importante que los residentes y los inmigrantes se involucren en nuestra comunidad y lleguen a ser líderes en la misma comunidad? Háblanos un poco de eso, por favor.
Con mucho gusto. En mi experiencia, creo que es muy importante que cada uno de los residentes de cualquier complejo, de cualquier lugar, de cualquier ciudad, se involucren o conozcan o sepan realmente que los rodea.
Thank you. My experience, it's very important for anyone, a resident of our properties, or really any location, to get involved, to get to know their environment, what is around them.
Es importante como ser humano, como familia de un hogar, saber a dónde poder acudir cuando uno tiene alguna necesidad o a quién pedirle ayuda. En este caso, a mí en lo particular me ayudó mucho el haber estado con Bienestar como promotor, porque me di cuenta de tantos servicios que existen en la comunidad que muchas familias los necesitan y a veces no tienen la información cuando realmente tienen la necesidad, y ese es el trabajo que los promotores dan.
And so as a human being, as part of a family, it's really important to know where you can go when you have a need. Who do you ask for help? And being a promotor really helped me to see that there's so many services, there's so many resources out there that people don't know about, and it would really be useful.
Para mí es muy gratificante darme cuenta que hay muchos residentes que me conocen en mi etapa de promotor y que me conocen porque tengo, se podría decir, 19, 20 años viviendo en ese complejo. Cuando tienen alguna pregunta con respecto a algún problema que tienen, a veces se dirigen a mí porque a veces no tienen la información dónde dirigirse, o se les hace fácil o tienen la confianza conmigo. Entonces, a mí me gustaría que la demás gente haga lo mismo, conozca sus derechos, conozca o sepa que todos podemos si queremos salir adelante con nuestras familias.
And so the residents have gotten to know me as a promotor, and also because I've been living there for 19 or 20 years. And so when they have a question, they don't know who to go to with that question. They'll often will come to me. Sometimes they just don't know where else to go, but also because the trust that they've developed with me. And I just think that everyone should have that level of understanding and be able to help each other. We all should know our rights. We all should know what options there are available to us. And I'd like to spread that around.
Esa es la motivación que me ha dado para poder continuar en el programa de bienestar como en la mesa directiva, para darme conocimiento a mí mismo de realmente cómo funciona el sistema, de dónde vienen los fondos, qué hacen con los fondos. Yo me considero portavoz de mi comunidad, porque en ocasiones hay preguntas. Hace 2 años, cuando hubo renovación en nuestro complejo, había muchas preguntas. Algunas personas se dirigían a mí y yo les preguntaba, en este caso, a veces a Nathan, a veces a Erika, a veces a Gracie, a la persona que tuviera accesibilidad más pronto para poder darles una buena respuesta y darles la información correcta.
And this has really been a motivation for me. As I moved into the role in the board, a member of the board, continuing to learn the system, learn about the money and where it comes from and how it's used. And I've been proud to feel much like a mouthpiece, a spokesperson for the community. And also, again, people come to me with their questions. A while back, there was a renovation at our complex, and residents came to me and asked me about those things. And I could then turn to Nathan or Erica or Gracie, whoever I could find. And if I couldn't answer the questions myself, I could get the information from them and pass it on.
Thank you. Muchas gracias, Alejandro. Next question is going to go for all three of you, and I think you've spoken to a little bit, but we'll start with Gracie. The question is about your inspiration to get involved in this kind of work. Ahora tengo una pregunta para ustedes tres. Ya han tocado ese tema, pero vamos a empezar con Gracie. Gracie, what has inspired you to get involved, in your case, in your whole career in this work in these last years at Bienestar? Tell us a little bit about that motivation and inspiration.
Coming from Texas as an immigrant, living in the camps, feeling how embarrassed I was, living in the camps, going to school, not understanding, even though English was my first language, but seeing somebody that was not my color was very difficult for me. I didn't want to speak. I just didn't know what to do. And as I was growing up, to me, I thought it was so important to now help those who, the way that I was helped at one time. And for those who know Venchi Sanchez, she was a big mentor in my life. But more than anything, she made me believe in myself, and she made me believe that there was same people helping out that were the same color as I was. So I think that for me, I want to be able to be that. When I do retire, I want to be able to have promotores, residents, people say, wow, I want to do, Gracie could do it, I could do it too. As a migrant worker, you know, people look at me and think, well, what do you know about farm working? That was my life. And so I just want to be, I want to see people be heard and empowered, and have them know that they can do something out of their life, that whatever they want, it's out there for them, that there shouldn't be a barrier. I want to be that person to help them out, to have them understand and not feel embarrassed for who they are, for what they want it to be. So for me, I think it's just, I want to give back what was given to me as I was growing up, and make people feel important and make valued. And I want to make sure that they can do anything they want. When I see people getting their GED and calling me up to say, hey, I got my GED, it's just, it makes me feel so good that at least, you know, that we were able to help them in one way or another. Or families that take classes in English, or our students that are, we just had one that just got her dental, she's now a dental assistant that went through us with the IDA match, to see our families do that and say, you know what, I can do it. That's the most important thing for me. So I'll stop before I start crying. Thank you.
Ya nos hiciste llorar a todos, Gracie.
I
Everyone.
know, it's just.
That's really beautiful. Thank you, Gracie. And just a quick comment from me. I can absolutely guarantee you that you are inspiring other people, and you talked about your inspiration, and your desire to inspire other people. I know for a fact that you are inspiring others to do good work that you're doing too. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now we'll ask the same question to Juan Carlos about your inspiration. You spoke a little bit about it earlier, Juan Carlos, pero ¿qué fue la inspiración, Juan Carlos, que le llevó a hacer ese trabajo con los promotores de bienestar?
Bueno, tengo como diría tres cosas que me inspiraron a poder trabajar con la comunidad. Necesariamente la primera fue mis experiencias de trabajo, mi experiencia que tuve como trabajador social en la agencia de OCDC, donde pude conocer a la comunidad de Washington County básicamente, y siempre relacionado a familias de bajos ingresos y trabajadores agrícolas. Ese fue el inicio de ir conociendo a las familias y de ir sintiendo el gusto y la pasión de trabajar con ellos. La segunda parte o faceta de mi trabajo que me inspiró, pues, y complementó mucho, influyó mucho en cómo veo la perspectiva de mi trabajo y mi visión, necesariamente es bienestar. Bienestar fue el pilar de mi motivación, de mi pasión para este trabajo.
So there were basically three different aspects and sources of inspiration that I've received to do this work with the community. The first was previous work I had with the OCDC, which allowed me to get to know Washington County farm worker families and develop the understanding of what the resources were around the area. The second one necessarily has to be my experience here at Bienestar, which through its philosophy and the constant activities, connection to residents has really brought a lot.
Sí, como decía, Bienestar consolidó esa mi pasión por este trabajo, y para esto quisiera, me viene a la memoria recordar una experiencia que tuve con varios promotores fuera de lo común, y es que, por ejemplo, siempre que invitaba a ser parte del grupo de promotores existía una resistencia o desconfianza de ellos mismos de poder realizar este trabajo. Pero tuve la satisfacción después de, puedo decir, 10 años e inclusive ahora, de poderles decir a algunos de ellos, te lo dije, no ibas a querer salir de este programa, y aún continúan aquí.
And my experience with these promotores has been really out of the ordinary. Certainly early on, I would find a lot of resistance and even distrust, but it was resistance and distrust towards themselves and what they didn't think their ability to respond to this responsibility of a promotor. And I have now the satisfaction after 10 years or so of being able to say, I told you so. I told you wouldn't want to leave once you got involved. And sure enough, there's folks that are still involved.
Y se preguntarán por qué, pues porque pude ver un cambio en las personas, un cambio con relación a su visión personal, a su trabajo y a su familia. Las tres cosas importantes. Crecieron mucho como personas. Yo creo que ni ellos se lo esperaban. Y pues, ¿a quién no le inspira eso? Eso es creo que la mejor inspiración.
And I could see then this great change in each one of the promotores, and change in so many ways, in their personal vision, in their work, of course, and even in their family life. It really, I could see this, and it's something that you don't expect.
Y para concluir, la última, concluyendo con la inspiración, es que es la misma comunidad. En realidad, la razón más importante que me inspira es la misma comunidad latina de la que soy parte. Y busco siempre que se reconozca el valor de su aporte en materia económica, social y cultural en este país. Todos en nuestra rutina diaria compartimos momentos familiares, sociales, en los que compartimos deliciosas comidas en nuestras mesas. Y sabemos que todo ello lo recibimos gracias al trabajo de nuestra comunidad. Cuando decimos nuestra comunidad lo vemos de manera subjetiva, pero ¿o por qué? Porque sigue siendo vista como un fantasma, porque no se lo trata de manera objetiva, de manera como real, como debería de ser. Es decir, reconocemos los frutos de los que producen, pero no a los productores como personas físicas o importantes que merecen todo el apoyo y respaldo. Somos parte, nuestra comunidad es parte de una historia en la que creo que ya es tiempo que se escriban los nombres de los protagonistas.
And the other reason that leads me to this work, that motivates me, is the community itself, the Latino community of which I form a part, which continues to seek the recognition of the value that their contribution has to the society in economic, social, and cultural aspects. We are in our daily lives sharing the most important family and social moments, such as delicious meals on our tables. And we know that all of that is a result of the work that our community has done. But this community is seen in a subjective way. We want to see it in a subjective way, but it seems like a ghost. It's out there. We see the work, but we're not seeing the actual people that produce the fruits. And as a physical people, as important people who deserve all the support and backing that we can give them. We are all part of a story. And I think it's time to write the names down of the protagonists of that story.
Muy bien, hermoso, hermoso sentimiento. Gracias. Thank you. Beautiful. It's a beautiful sentiment we have. Alejandro, the question will go to you now, and then we're saving one last question for Gracie, and then we'll open it up to you in the audience to ask any questions you have as well. Alejandro, you already spoke a little to your inspiration, and I think Juan Carlos and Gracie have both described very beautifully their inspiration. Pero háblenos un poquito más de su inspiración para llegar a ser promotor y líder en la comunidad.
La inspiración más importante que me ha llegado o me ha dado la fuerza para continuar hasta este momento involucrado como miembro de la mesa directiva, pero principalmente tocando el tema de promotor, es poder tener la satisfacción de ayudar a las familias con la información necesaria cuando ellos lo necesitan. Me viene a la memoria una etapa de promotor que tuvimos, todos lo podemos recordar. En 2008 tuvimos una recesión en este país, donde hubo mucha desestabilidad económica. Muchas personas perdieron su hogar, su empleo. Afortunadamente, Bienestar estaba otorgando el servicio de promotores y yo estaba en ese equipo y me tocó vivir muchas experiencias con los residentes muy desagradables a veces. Había residentes que yo como promotor me tocaba escuchar llorar. Me conmovían sus historias y a la vez pues me daba más coraje de seguir aprendiendo, más ganas de poder ayudar a las personas, de poder ser una persona útil, un residente útil para mi comunidad.
So the most important inspiration that I have received, certainly as a member of the board, but especially as a promotor, is the satisfaction of helping families with information that they can use when they need it. You'll recall in 2018 when the recession, we were hit with this recession, and so many people suffered, losing their homes, their work. And I was on the team of promotores, and so I had quite a few really sad experiences of having to be there and when residents cried with their frustration, and that made me frustrated, and it made me mad. I wanted to learn more, to be able to help more in these situations.
Esa es una de las razones por las que yo me gustaría que más residentes se involucraran en los programas de su comunidad. En este caso, Bienestar, y en otras comunidades, algunos otros programas que existen. Es importante uno como residente saber qué puede uno aportar. Como decía anteriormente Juan Carlos, todos tenemos la capacidad de poder aportar algo en esta vida. Siempre cuando uno tenga la información necesaria, eso es muy importante para cada ser humano. Y para mí en lo personal, es una gran satisfacción y personal, muy personal, de poder tener la experiencia o haber tenido la experiencia de ser un promotor. Poder darles las familias las informaciones que ellos necesitaban en ese momento y también involucrarme cada vez más en la comunidad. Recuerdo mucha gente también que en ese tiempo no tenían una cuenta bancaria por miedo a un Social Security que era importante o es importante, pero en esa etapa, en 2008, en esa etapa no había tanto requisito. Nosotros también otorgamos ese servicio para darles la información que cualquier miembro de la comunidad podría hacer una cuenta para poder pagar sus rentas, pagar sus biles o simplemente tener una cuenta bancaria.
And so my desire has been that more residents become involved and really learn that you can do so much. If, just as Juan Carlos was saying, we all have something to give if we have the necessary information. And so a personal satisfaction for me is the experience of being a promotor, of being able to share the information with people when they need it, and also to be able to be so involved in the community. I remember specifically the situation in 2018, people didn't have bank accounts. They were scared. They were asked for a social security number, didn't know what to do. And we in Bienestar were able to give them the information of how they can go about opening a bank account, which would help them to pay their rent, their bills, and in general, just to have that account would make things better.
Thank you. Perdón, Alejandro, nos hace corto el tiempo. Yeah, we're starting to run out of time, and I do see some questions coming in from folks in the audience, which is great. I do have one last question for Gracie, and then we'll shift to the questions from our audience. At Bienestar, sometimes it's been great to hear about all the work that was done in the past, but we're also looking to the future, and we like to say we're always moving pa'lante, ¿verdad? Vamos pa'lante. And so looking ahead, we're already providing new services at Willow Creek Crossing. Soon we'll be providing services at a new property in Forest Grove, the Valfrey at Avenida 26. This month, we're starting new services at the Marianne, which is a project that Reach CDC is opening in Beaverton. Bienestar is developing Plaza Los Amigos in Cornelius and Nueva Esperanza in Hillsborough, and we'll be partnering with Reach on another project at El Monica Station. So we're really expanding our reach. Gracie, just tell us if you have any thoughts about the future, how this program will develop, how you see the Promotores program expanding to these new communities that we'll be working with.
Well, one of the main things is that with the new properties that are coming on, we'll be working with more different cultures. So that's one of our big things that we'll be working with, but we are continue to do surveys for families and see what the needs are in their properties. We're going to continue to answer to the needs. advocating for them. We have now Esperanza funds, which will helping people with rent. We're going to continue doing vaccines, whatever need our family are bringing in and concerns. I think more than anything is to have residents feel heard and empowered. I think that's one of the most important things that we're going to do. But we want them to give us their concerns. We want them to be involved in the community. So I see ourselves, and I see the different properties expanding with not just the Hispanic culture, but other cultures as well, that we're going to be having. So we're going to try to develop services for them. So we're going to need help. We're going to hire other promotores in their own properties, in their own culture, so that we can work as a team and just expand it and try to help as many people as we're able to do.
Wonderful. Thank you, Gracie. We're now going to head into the time when you in the audience, if you have questions, I see 2 questions here, which I'll put on the table here in a minute, but if you have questions, please type them into the chat or into the comment section of Facebook Live. If we're not able to get to the answers today, we will follow up with you after to answer your question. The first question I see here is from Jamie, and this could be for any one of you, Gracie, Alejandro, or Juan Carlos. Thank you for your dedication and openness to sharing your stories. Can you offer advice for future generations on how to get involved in community building and advocacy? ¿Puede dar alguien consejo a las futuras generaciones sobre cómo pueden participar en la construcción de la comunidad? So, which one of you wants to answer that one? Gracie, Alejandro? Gracie, you want to take a crack at it to get us started?
So I think for me, honestly, is encourage the families, try to join committees. Don't be afraid of what to say, or, I was afraid as I was growing up to speak up. I was afraid of my color, and don't, go out there and get involved, take a friend with you, and mostly don't be afraid of who you are. Be proud of who you are and advocate for our families. That's, to me, that's the most powerful thing that you can do. Just don't be afraid. Go out there. I think for me is be who you are. And like Juan Carlos said, it's important to be one of them, and not pretend or not think that you can overpower the promotoras or the families or the individuals. Walk with them side by side, not in front of them, not behind them, but side by side with them.
Great, thanks, Gracie. Here we have a question that I'll shoot over to Juan Carlos and Alejandro. La pregunta viene en español. ¿Qué tipo de apoyo por parte de las agencias asociadas, gobierno, por ejemplo, es más útil para apoyar el trabajo de los promotores de bienestar? Educación, asistencia técnica, apoyo económico. So, Alejandro, Juan Carlos, ¿quieren contestar esa pregunta?
Pues sí, mi criterio sería que necesariamente va todo conjunto. Tiene que ser todo tipo de apoyo, puede ser humano, puede ser económico. Necesariamente necesitamos de todo un poco. Sería a mi criterio un error poder decir que específicamente necesitamos el dinero o específicamente necesitamos esto o aquello. Yo creo que se necesita un todo para poder llegar a hacer algo o completar las metas que estamos buscando.
In my point of view, it's everything all together. All human and financial and technical assistance, a little of everything. It would be a mistake to just pick out one particular thing and see that's what we need. We need all of it together in order to reach our goals.
Alejandro,
Yo pienso que para reforzar la pregunta que nos están haciendo, creo que lo básico es, como decía Juan Carlos, toda la información necesaria, toda la ayuda necesaria, tener de la mano los beneficios o los servicios de la comunidad, por ejemplo, hospitales, ¿por qué no bancos? Tenemos los servicios que otorga el condado aquí de la ciudad, estar disponibles para que Bienestar pueda y siga creciendo, siga pudiendo aportar, pudiendo ayudar a las familias. En este caso estamos enfocados en las familias inmigrantes, estamos enfocados en todas las comunidades de todas las regiones. Aquí no tenemos ninguna prioridad que porque es de un país o porque es de otro país. Estamos abiertos para todas las comunidades inmigrantes. Ese es el punto de este bienestar, para que puedan las familias saber a dónde poder dirigirse o qué hacer cuando realmente necesitan la ayuda, porque todos necesitamos de todos, como lo decían anteriormente. Todos algún día necesitamos y todos estamos para podernos ayudar y echar la mano. Ese es el punto.
So to back that up, I would say information, the necessary information in order to respond, and assistance. And also just the knowledge of the benefits, the resources, the services that are out there, whether there's hospitals or banks or the county or the city, whatever is available. At the end of the day, in Bienestar, we want it to continue to grow and to continue to help the immigrant families and communities. And I wanted to stress that we are not giving priority to any particular immigrant community from a particular country. We want to be available to all. And the key then is for people to know in a different situation where to go and what to do. At the end of the day, we all need each other. Maybe right now I could help someone else. Maybe later I would need the help.
great, thank you. We are almost running out of time. And that's a beautiful sentiment. I think in Spanish they say, hoy por ti, mañana por mí, ¿verdad? So we help each other, and sometimes it might be one of us and then the next day somebody else. So that mutual support. We're almost out of time. I do see other questions that have been posed to us. I don't think we're going to have time to get to them. Thank you, Jose Jaime, for your question, and saludos de Oregon para Texas. And Ricardo, I see your question too. We'll record those questions and get back to you. Anyone in the audience can reach out to us at Bienestar through our website. And our website also has our email addresses, myself, Gracie, and other staff. So if you want to reach out, please do. You can sign up for a newsletter as well. As we close, I just want to remind everyone, this is the second panel that we've held celebrating our 40th anniversary at Bienestar, Camino al Bienestar. We're very proud of the 40 years of hard work that the organization has put in. And I want to let everyone know that we will have a third event in December 9th, will be our Una Noche de Bienestar, end of year celebration. It will be more of a party than a storytelling panel. We will have two groups performing, Mariachi Mexico en La Piel, which are fabulous, and Orquestra Pacifico Tropical. So they will be performing en vivo in the Holocene Theater on December 9th. The information is up on the screen there. We hope you're able to come. Tickets are available. There will be COVID protocols in place for people coming in to that. There'll be limited capacity and so on. So get your tickets soon. We hope you're able to join us. And once again, thank you to our sponsors, LNC Construction and Kaiser Permanente, and to all of you in the audience for joining us and taking time out of your day to hear about Bienestar. And we will send out emails to everyone who registered for the event with a recording of this panel and a response to some of the questions we weren't able to get to. So with that, muchas gracias. Thank you for your time. Y pa'lante, pa'lante. Thank you, everyone.